everybody, how you doing today? If you're married, is money a difficult thing to talk about with your spouse, with your husband or your wife? Are you constantly fighting and arguing over how to spend your money? Are you on two different pages with different needs, wants, and desires? And finances, money issues are ruining your marriage. Today's topic on this recording is how to manage your finances without ruining your marriage. Hi, I'm Kelly. I'm pastor, police chaplain, and marriage coach that helps couples have the lifelong marriage that they really want. I'm also the author of a book, Turn It Up, How to Have the Lifelong Marriage That You Really Want. And if you're looking for a guide that will help you or someone you know have that kind of marriage, and the reason I called it a lifelong marriage that you really want is because I believe all of us that are married want two things. We want it to be great. We want to have a close connection with our spouse. We want it to be a lot of fun and mutually satisfying and fulfilling, and we want it to last. It's no good if it all falls apart in 2 or 3 years. And it's no good if you live together in a marriage that is just barely surviving and hanging on where there's distance and separation and you've drifted apart from each other, but you're staying married just for the kids. Well, there is a lot to be said for staying married, even if you don't really like it. But I believe God wants you to have a great marriage, a lifelong marriage, and it's the lifelong marriage that you really want. So that's why I wrote this book, and I'll tell you later how to get a copy of it. But anyways, today's topic is about how to manage your finances without ruining your marriage. If there's one issue that I think all marriages struggle with, it's money. Why? Why is it so hard to manage our money as a couple? Well, basically, it's probably because you and your spouse both want different things, okay? So you might want to pay off debt, but your wife wants a new pair of shoes. Or maybe, ladies, you want to save for that emergency fund because you're very concerned about your financial situation. What would happen if your husband or if you lost your job and he wants to go out and buy a new dirt bike? Are you kidding me? We can't afford that. How in the world are we going to manage that kind of thing? Oh, it's no big deal, honey. We'll pay it off. I'll work extra. I'll work overtime. I hear that a lot from cops that I talk to in the police station. They all work in overtime, which I understand why, but you got to learn to live within your means. Anyways, how do we manage our finances as a married couple without ruining your marriage? I've got 7 steps for you that I think is going to turn this whole thing around and help you to have the lifelong marriage that you really want and apply it to this financial area. So here we go. Step number 1 is commit to managing your finances together. Commit to managing your finances together. I talk to a lot of couples, and basically when in marriage coaching and premarital and other kinds of things, couples coming to me that marriages are in trouble. And when the topic of finances comes up, I often hear this: well, I pay some of the bills and she pays some of the bills, and somehow we just make it work. And I'm like, yeah, but you know what? Now what we're talking about is it's her money and my money. It's his money and her money. Those kinds of things like that. And really what you need to do is pool your finances together. My favorite verse about marriage is Genesis 2:24, where God says this: "For this reason, a man would leave his father and mother and be united to his wife, and the two will become one flesh." So finances and money is a great opportunity to live out the oneness that God wants you to have. See, it's no longer my money, it's our money. It's no longer your money, it's our money. So take what you earn and put it all into one big account. Okay, now you can have sub accounts, and maybe there's one person in a marriage that's going to be the more hands on, making sure the bills are paid, running the computer thing, sending out the the payments via the internet, signing up for things, automatic debits with your mortgage or your rent or whatever like that. So maybe there's one person that's doing that, but basically it is the kind of thing that you must do together. And so, if there's two different viewpoints about how to manage this, you need to talk about it and you need to come to some agreement. If, by the way, you are on two different pages, I made another video entitled How to Show You Understand. And in that video, what I talk about is really the first step of solving problems together. It's listening and then understanding the other person's perspective and then sharing your perspective while the other person understands what you're trying to say. And then you blend those two things together so that you can come into agreement. There's a verse in the book of Amos in the Bible that says, how can two walk together unless they agree? So we need to come to that place of agreement in our finances by committing to doing everything together. Let's do this together. How are we? And you need to watch, by the way, your language here. You need to watch the words you use. If you find yourself saying me or mine instead of ours or we, I would really highly suggest you watch that and change that immediately. Start using the word we. How are we going to manage our money? Okay, because words mean things and words create things. And what you want to do is do this together. So that's step number one. Number two is disclose everything and never hide anything from each other. Disclose everything and never hide anything. So disclosing everything is maybe a question to ask before or something to do before you get married. That if you've got a lot of debt, you need to let your future husband or wife know everything about you financially. How much student loans you have, how much credit card debt, if you've had a bankruptcy, any of that kind of stuff. But even once you get married, basically you want your finances to be an open book, that your husband or wife, if you're the one managing it, they can look at the accounts, they can look at the the bank account, they can look at the Quicken program if you're using something like that, and they can ask you any question they want. Never hide anything. Never keep any secrets. Always, I shouldn't say always, but frequently on TV, you find these scenarios or in movies where one person says, you know what, I want to surprise my husband or my wife because they're such an amazing person, and I'm going to buy them a new car. So what do? They set up a secret savings account where they can start paying for the down payment or making payments into that of some income that they've had. Bad idea. Bad idea. Why? In fact, in these movies and TV shows where you see this happening, the reason it comes up is because it destroys trust. It destroys transparency whenever you keep secrets, whenever you hide something from your spouse, your husband, or your wife. So never hide anything from each other. If you want to buy your husband or wife a new car, print out a picture of the thing and put it in a box and put a ribbon on it and say, here, honey, here's what I want to give you. And they open up the box and it's a picture of a car, but you haven't bought it yet. Why? Because when you go to that dealership, you need to go together. When you sign the papers and take out that loan, you need to do so in agreement, and it cannot be a surprise. So if you want to save money for something special, let your spouse know about it. Hey, I just want to start putting extra money in this special account for some special projects. Okay, well, what kind of projects are we looking at? Talk about it, disclose it, that kind of thing. Number 3 is decide your money style. Now, this can be a little bit challenging, but it's really not that hard to do. Basically, there's 2 styles when it comes to money. You have spenders and you have savers. Okay, and it's kind of a continuum, because you may say to yourself, well, I'm kind of both. So think about it on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being a saver and 10 being a spender. Where are you on that scale? If you're a 1 to 4, you are a saver. If you're a 6, 7, 8, 9, you are a spender. I'm getting them confused. So saver at the low end, spender at the high end, or figure it out. You can change the numbers if you want to do it differently. But you see what I'm saying? And if you're an absolute 5, then that means you are both, which is good. And that's really kind of what we need to do, because spenders need to learn how to save, and savers, believe it or not, need to learn how to spend and not feel guilty about it afterwards. So we can balance each other out. It's not a bad thing. One is not better than the other. You want to avoid the extremes, but you want to identify who are you and what is your natural tendency. And then you want to blend those two styles together. Okay, so if you're a spender and I'm a saver, how are we going to make this work? Okay. And the way you make it work, well, I'll get to that. It's one of the steps coming up in just a moment. Okay, some of this stuff might, by the way, might seem super basic to you. Maybe you've heard it before. Dave Ramsey teaches this. I've heard it from a lot of different sources, but if you're not putting it into practice, it doesn't matter what you know. Maybe this is all review for you. And if it is, I hope it helps and challenges you to start putting it into practice. So number 4 is then set some goals. And really what I want you to think about is this question: what do you want financially? What do you want? Because that's really where discipline comes from. That's where change comes from, is when we identify what we want, where we want to be. What do you want your financial situation to be like a year from now? And write it down. Maybe you want to pay off debt. Maybe you want to have an emergency fund if you don't have one. Maybe you want to have 6 months savings in case one of you loses your job. Then you're not concerned about, okay, how are we going to pay the rent or keep the lights on? Maybe it's retirement savings. Maybe it's buying a house. Maybe it's starting the kids' college fund and starting to put those things, money away into that. What do you really want? And then which one, if you've got like 5 or 6 things, what's the top priority? Pick one thing. Let's keep it simple. Pick one thing and say, okay, you know what we really need to do first is we need to have an emergency fund, even before paying off debt, et cetera, et cetera. And once again, there's lots of great resources out there. Dave Ramsey being a great one, as well as other programs that are there that you can find that will give you input on how to do this. But figure out what you want. Okay, that was number 4. Number 5 is this. Take about a month, okay, or maybe more, and just write down everything you spend, okay? So if you use credit cards, which I do because I pay off the bill in full every month, and so I get the credit card miles for my Visa card, and I get hotel points for my American Express card, and it's worth it because we use those things, and they add up over time. And as long as you keep your account active, the miles and points never go away. So but if credit cards are a problem for you, then cut them up, throw them away, and start using a debit card or cash instead. But that's not my point. My point is this: track your spending. So one way to do that is you keep receipts. Okay, everything you spend throughout the day, and you come home and you take the receipts out and you put it in a spreadsheet or write it on a piece of paper. And what I would encourage you to do, by the way, is categorize each spend. Each expenditure. So if you go to the grocery store and you've got a receipt from Stater Brothers or Albertsons, then that goes in the grocery column. If you go to Home Depot and buy a light bulb, that goes in the home column. If you go to Starbucks and buy coffee every day, that's going to go in the coffee column or the eating out column. And so track and then write down everything. If you do have a credit card, you can put an app on your phone. This is what I did recently. You put the app on your phone, and then you can look up all of your purchases. They're all right there. Or you can go online and find your account online as well, because it's all right there. And then you look at each one and say, okay, what was this for? And if you go to a place like Target or Walmart, where there's lots of categories, like you can buy something for your home, you can buy clothes, you can buy food or groceries there. You can get your car repaired there at Walmart. So you need to take the receipt and say, okay, how much of this was for this? How much of this was for that? But basically, take a month and just track your spending. When you pay your utilities, you want to write down how much did we pay for electricity, gas, water, trash, whatever, the utilities you're required to pay. And then, anyways, cover everything: your rent, your mortgage, your utilities, your car payments, your loan payments, if you've got credit card debts, everything that goes out, you want to write it down or record it in some way. And here's why this is so important. You have to see what you're currently spending so that you can then come up with the spending plan that I'm going to tell you how to do in just a moment. The next step. So, anyways, do the work. It takes a little bit of time, but you will be amazed, by the way, when you see how much you're spending on each item. It's like, whoa! I had no idea we were spending so much on that. For when I was teaching this in a class at our church a couple years ago, everybody that I asked to do this step were shocked at how much money they were spending on. Take a guess what it was? Yeah, eating out. hmm They were surprised. Man, I never knew I spent so much money eating out. Okay, so you want to write down everything so that way you can look at what is actually happening. Reality is your friend. So look at it. Track your spending. Number 6, by the way, if you haven't done this already, is to merge your accounts. And I touched on this earlier with commit to doing it together. But basically, you want this to be a we thing. And the best way to do that is to just, rearrange your checking and savings accounts so that way you can have one account that everything goes into. And then from that one account, you pay all your bills. But definitely, it's recognizing that it's our money and not my money or his money or her money. Okay. And then number 7 is this: set up a 10-10-80 spending plan. So I got this from my pastor, Dr. Jim Reeve, and my wife and I have lived by this now for years, and it is awesome. 10-10-80 is basically this: take the first 10% and give it to God. Okay, so whatever you make, by the way, in your gross, not your net, not what your check says, but what do you make? That's the gross. Take 10% of that and give it away. Give it to a local church where you go to church. Give it to a ministry. I would say, by the way, your tithe goes to your church, and then gifts above and beyond that from different ministries, that comes out of then the 80% because that's extra. But give the first 10% your tithe to your local church. The second thing is then 10% to yourself. So 10% to God, 10% to yourself. You want to pay God, you want to pay yourself. How do you pay yourself? You put it in a savings account. And as I mentioned before, that savings account can have several purposes. One is that it's an emergency fund. Secondly, it is then a savings in case you or your spouse lose your job. So now you've got some money there that you can easily access, that you are able to cover your bills while you look for another job. And if you think it can't happen, it can. And I know some couples that they live paycheck to paycheck because they're always spending everything that they earn. So you want to then cut back or look at all of your expenses and live on the 80% that's left. 10% to yourself, 10% to God, live on the 80%. How do you do that? You want to rise, which is reduce, eliminate, substitute, no. Reduce, increase. I'm sorry, I should have wrote this down. I thought of this last minute. RISE. Reduce. I stands for increase. S stands for substitute. E stands for eliminate. Okay, so you're going to reduce your overall spending. Maybe the way you're going to do that is you're going to increase your income. That's the I. You can substitute. If you go to the store and you find one item for $3.99 and then the same thing of a different brand for $2.99, start buying the $2.99 brand. You won't notice a difference and it'll be okay. And then E is eliminate. Look at the things in your what you're spending on and see what you can do without. Look at your needs and not just your wants. Yes, I need some new shoes for work, but I want some new dress shoes to go out and party with my friends. Or I need to have internet access, but I want to have cable TV. Okay, so maybe you don't need the cable channels. Maybe you can just go with the basic internet package, which you'll use for work and your kids to do their homework or whatever. So, anyways, these are the 7 steps. Let me run through them again. Commit to doing it together, disclose everything, and never hide anything from each other. Number 3, decide your money style. Number 4, set some financial goals. Number 5, track your spending. 6, merge your accounts. And number 7, set up a 10-10-80 spending plan. Okay. By the way, I have an entire chapter about this in my book. Turn It Up, How to Have the Lifelong Marriage That You Want. And this video is not a sales pitch, but I want to encourage you that if you need some more information on that, there's 2 things you could do. One is get a copy of my book and read about this. Secondly, of course, there's lots of other financial management resources out there that you can do. But if you have some questions and need some help, and if you want to have the lifelong marriage that you really want, I can help you with that. So go to my website, which is turnitup.coach. And at turnitup.coach, you'll see a button there that says book a call. It's not a sales call. I'm not trying to sell you anything. I just want to let you discover how marriage coaching can change your marriage and improve the quality of things with you and your spouse. So if I can be of assistance to you, we can talk about that and explain how to go. I do have a scholarship program now that is helping couples get the marriage coaching that they need so that they can have the marriage that they really want. So that's it for me today. I'm Kelly Dupay, pastor, police chaplain, marriage coach that helps couples have the lifelong marriage that they really want. Also the author of the book, Turn It Up, How to Have the Lifelong Marriage That You Really Want. But most importantly, a follower of Jesus Christ. God bless you. Have a great week, and I'll see you next time.